Howdy folks, welcome back to Do and Brew. I just finished building this firewood carrier. Previously we were using an old garden wagon to haul our wood, and it was really time consuming and really hard, especially in the snow and ice, dragging that wagon across the snow. This is our second load of firewood in this carrier. It really is making life easy for us. And as you'll see here in a moment, it's a really easy build. So if you got a pallet and some scrap wood, you can put this together too in probably not more than about an hour. Let's get to work. So one of the first things you got to do is figure out how deep do you want your firewood tote to be. And we chose 30 inches. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't too difficult to lean in and lift out the firewood. 30 inches seems to work pretty good for us. And then I just cut all of my corner pieces to 30 inches. Once I have the 8 pieces cut out for my 4 corners, and of course I'm using 2x6s for these, I'm going to go ahead and pre-join them before I try to attach them onto the corners of the pallet. And for this I'm using 3-inch coated deck screws that I had left over from another project. And it took me about 5 seconds to realize I need to do this assembly on something more level than a gravel driveway. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so I'm just going to use the same deck screws, the 3-inch deck screws, to connect this corner to the bottom of the pallet. And then I'll repeat this process 3 more times for the 3 remaining corners. Having a tote like this is really nice. Obviously, it removes the physical labor part of dragging wood in a wagon across the yard. But more importantly, it allows me to store up to a week's worth of wood in the garage, especially when we're expecting snow or rain. So I can keep my firewood nice and dry and ready to go. Okay, now how long to cut the slats for the sides of the tote? Well, for the long sides, I'm just going to cut my boards. I'm using 8-foot material. I'm going to cut them in half at 48 inches. And I'm just going to make that work. It's not going to line up perfect on the ends, but this thing is functional. I'm not worried so much about how it looks. Now, again, I'm not putting a whole lot of time and effort into making this thing a beautiful piece of furniture. I'm just going to use the boards themselves as spacers. And then when I get to the top, it's too tight for one board for a spacer. So again, I'm just making it work. I just need this thing to haul firewood for me. Then I do the same thing for the opposite side, and then for the short sides, I cut the boards to fit, use the boards themselves to achieve the same spacing, and attach it with deck screws. And I do want to point out at this point, I'm using 1.5-inch deck screws. Now you may have noticed during the initial assembly, I was only putting 1 screw in the end of each board. Now I'm going to go back and put 2 more for a total of 3 screws per end or 6 screws per board. And with that, we're done. This honestly only took about an hour to build, and now we just got to pick it up with the forks, load it up with firewood, and get it into the garage. Now this project really is a winner. It didn't take long to build. It was an easy build, but it's going to save us so much time this winter.
We have so much work to do as we rebuild this old house and farm, and hauling wood in the wintertime takes a lot of our time. But this tote is going to cut that down to a fraction. We need the wood to stay warm, but now we don't have to put as much effort into it. Well, thanks again for watching this video, folks. Sure do appreciate you checking it out. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or you can email me at doandbrew@gmail.com. We'll see you next time on Do and Brew. Take care, folks.